Assalamu alaikum assassins. May Allah bless you all and keep you safe and sound and in His protection. So it's online lecture 19 of grade 7 and subject is history. So in last lecture we were talking about East India Company, that is IEC. It belonged to London and it came to India for the purpose of trade, but later on it got involved in politics as well. Then it started ruling all over the India after winning 2 battles. I told you in the previous videos as well. Those were the Battle of Plassey and the Battle of Buxar. Then after the Mughal Empire got weakened, the East India Company even got the monopoly. So they became very powerful. The British became very powerful and they had gotten the control all over the India, and they had the support of government, and they had gotten most of the area and population. So you also have witnessed their rise and fall as well in the previous video, and about some history as well. So in today's video we are gonna talk about the consolidation of Mughal Empire, or the problems prior to the expansion and consolidation of the Mughal Empire. So it's page number 13 of your second chapter, and the subheading, as I told you before, is 2.2, that is imperial expansion and consolidation of Mughal Empire. So we are going to talk about this page, and the content belong to this page. So let's talk about it. But before that, I want you have, as usual, the loose sheets or your registers, and of course pens and highlighters in order to note down the important points. So let's talk about Akbar and consolidation of Mughal Empire, because Akbar played an important role in the expansion and consolidation of Mughal Empire, and Akbar was the Mughal emperor. So we're gonna relate Akbar to the things that we are gonna talk about. As you guys all know, that Mughal Empire was introduced by Babur, but after he died, the Mughal Empire was not fully expanded. So when Akbar was born, their power and their access was limited to the certain areas. Then Akbar expanded the Mughal Empire. So Jalaluddin Muhammad Akbar was the full name. Was born to Humayun by Hamida Banu on October 15, 1542 in Sindh. While Humayun was on exile from Delhi throne, Humayun recovered shortly before his death in 1556. When he died, Akbar was proclaimed emperor on 14th of February 1556. These things we already have talked in our previous videos, but I am repeating these things all in order to make you understand more clearly. So Akbar had an unhappy childhood, since his father was a refugee emperor when he was born. From the time he was young, he was more interested in martial arts and sports than his studies. His tutors failed to teach him reading and writing, and had been written by historians all over that he remained illiterate. But he was very smart and intelligent, and the reason he expanded the Mughal Empire. When Akbar came to the throne, his father had left for him an infant Mughal Empire. You can say that it was not fully grown. The empire that was left behind by his father, Akbar's father, was fully surrounded by enemies. In fact, only a part of Punjab was under the actual control of it. So let's talk about the consolidation of empire, but before that, let's talk about some problems prior to the expansion or consolidation of Mughal Empire. The expansion of Akbar was brought about after he had dealt with some major problems that he faced within his kingdom and inside his court and outside his kingdom. And those problems include first Himu and the second battle of Panipat that happened in 1556. Then there were some nobles in the court, and that was another problem. And the last one would be the Behram Khan. So these were some problems that we are gonna talk about the history under these problems. So let's talk about Himu and the second battle of Panipat that happened back in 1556. So before that, let me tell you who was Himu. Himu was the Hindu general and chief minister of Sur dynasty, and Sur dynasty, I told you, was founded by Sher Shah Suri. So Himu was progressing against Mughals after capturing Delhi and Agra because he wanted to capture the throne after the death of Humayun. So he started having some planning and plotting against Mughal Emperor Akbar, and he was also started positioning his forces against Akbar as he wanted to have Akbar defeated. So let's talk about it. Himu was an Afghan general. You can say that he was also Afghan general who had taken the name of Vikramaditya and who proclaimed himself as the king of Delhi. He fought the second battle of Panipat with Akbar on 5th November 1556, and in the battlefield he fought bravely, but at one stage he seemed to be on the point of winning, but he was suddenly struck by an arrow in the eye and lost consciousness. His troops fled in panic and he was later captured and beheaded by Mughal Emperor Akbar. So Himu's death doomed the Afghan cause, and the victors occupied Agra and Delhi. So next is nobles in the court. Akbar faced problems to assert his authority in the court. Most of the nobles were much older than Akbar and they were not willing to accept him because age was the major issue at that time. They were like, Akbar was not that experienced because of his age. He was way too young at that time, so that's why they started going against Akbar. However, later Akbar proclaimed his authority over them and any rebellion was suppressed. So next is Behram Khan. Behram Khan's service and devotion to Humayun earned for him as Akbar's guardian. He became Akbar's guardian after the death of Humayun because he was very devoted to the Mughal Emperor Humayun, so he became the guardian of Mughal Emperor Akbar. But as a guardian, he later became too powerful. Then back in 1560, Behram Khan was advised to go to Mecca, to which he complied. On his way, he was killed in Gujarat by an Afghan to satisfy his private revenge. Akbar was not happy, and though he was not happy with Behram becoming too powerful, he regarded him as his guardian. He even adopted Behram's son as his own son, who was Abdur Rahim. So the fall of Behram Khan did not immediately establish Akbar's personal control over the administration. Maham, who was the Akbar's nurse, and her party tried to be dominant over Akbar's administration, but later on they were suppressed and Akbar secured for himself complete freedom for the influence of his relatives. So that's all for today's lecture. In today's lecture we talked about the problems related to the consolidation of Mughal Empire. So and in the upcoming video we will talk about the beginning of the personal rule and expansion, like the expansion of the Mughal Empire. So for assignment, I am gonna give you questions like who was Himu, and the next write a short note on the second battle of Panipat, which was being fought between Himu and Akbar. And take great care of yourself. Allah Hafiz.